You're very welcome back. Now, formed 30 years ago, God, 30 years ago, The Stunning are one of Ireland's favourite rock bands with their 1990 masterpiece, Paradise in the Picture House, still one of the country's most loved albums, spawning such classics as Brewing Up a Storm, Romeo's on Fire and 2:30.
With a new album out next year, duo Steve and Joe Waller with us this morning. But first, let's take a listen to the new single, Always You.
You're on my mind both night and day, and you made me crash. You're the itch that I can't scratch. Last night I had the strangest dream. I was lost at sea. Now I wish that I could be with you, just you, always you. If you fall, I'll be the one you fall into.
Sounds good, lads. You're looking well, 30 years on. My goodness.
We have had some work done.
1987.
1987, yeah, we started.
And whose idea was it?
It was actually mine.
Was it? You were to blame.
I was, at the time, I was actually trying to pursue an acting career in Dublin. I'd spent a couple of years with the Druid Theatre Company in Galway, and I was trying to, as doing all kinds of things, sound operator, understudy, walk-on parts, all this, pulling ropes backstage, all the usual. And then I moved to Dublin to try and become an actor. And I was like on the dole for a year, no work.
When I was reading your story about putting together the band, it was very kind of commitments-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah.
As in, you didn't want to go for interviews. You decided, I'm going to create something.
Yeah. It was basically what I discovered, you know, after just 1 year trying to become an actor was that you've absolutely no power. You know, other people decide whether you're going to work or not. And I had a kind of a eureka moment one night in the Underground. It was a venue on Dame Street.
Yeah.
Band, I used to go there loads.
Which is open again, by the way.
It's open again, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
But it was one night and I was watching some band, like a lot of great Irish bands kind of came through there. Something Happens, Aslan, Real Wild West, The Subterraneans, Golden Horde, all these bands. And it just kind of occurred to me one night, I could just start a band. I don't have to wait for someone to tell
Like
me.
you can do it yourself.
You can go and do it. So actually, like the next day I put an ad in Hot Press and had, you know, auditions in Aidan Walsh's rehearsal rooms in Temple Bar.
Aidan Walsh's rehearsal room. My God.
The Emperor of Eagles.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it started. I ended up then over a weekend in Galway, starting a band down there with some people that I'd kind of previously known. Cormac, who was in a band with me in college, and then Joe, who I kind of knew because we come from the same mother.
Yeah. You'd met him.
That helps.
We'd met before, so...
Did you have any idea, though, 30 years ago,
No.
that 30 years later you'd
No.
still be rocking it out, new albums coming out, new tour dates, just finished a tour? Any idea that it would go like that?
Certainly didn't think we'd be playing a lot of the same songs.
Are you fine with playing the same songs? Because I know some artists kind of get a bit precious about this whole, you know, the popular songs I'm over.
Well, I mean, sometimes it gets a little bit out of control with, say, Brewing Up a Storm.
Because that was an anthem. It still is an anthem,
It's kind of an anthem and it gets played at football matches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So we do try to kind of remind people that we do have other songs and we try and push them a bit. But the thing is, we don't gig all the time. We're fairly kind of selective about it. And we tend to do maybe about 10 gigs max a year.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had to do it. Whether it annoys you or not. The rest of us enjoy it. But as you say, football matches, I mean, it was used in ads, wasn't it? It was a huge track.
it was on the Euros ad for...
That's right,
for 3 Ireland, not the TV station, the phone network.
Yes.
3 Mobile. And, which was great, actually, because through that ad, a lot of... kids that we wouldn't be on their radar at all got to hear that
It
song.
will
New
bring
generation.
new fans and they want to hear the rest of your music. You were in the news during the week talking about music and the popularity of tracks, and you were in the news talking about royalties, effectively, and streaming services, etc.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about what happened this week.
Not really. It was well, basically, IMRO have launched. They've released a new report on the Irish music industry, which basically shows how much it's worth to the Irish economy, and it's 703 million a year. It's actually an awful lot bigger than people think, but it could be a lot better. I mean, the income for musicians now is really whittled down, for writers and artists, has really whittled down to a pittance, you know, from music sales and streaming and all that. So in the IMRO report, what's interesting, they have a few recommendations. One is that there's a body set up, like say there's the Irish Film Board that looks after the interests of the film industry, but the music industry doesn't have anything. There's no kind of body that can, you know, kind of help.
Like a regulator.
Yeah. And so that's one thing they want to do. And another thing they want to do is there's a kind of an unfair playing field when it comes to sort of internet streaming and all that. You've got companies, say Facebook, YouTube, Google, SoundCloud. They provide music, but they call themselves, actually I have it written down here, they're regarded as technical intermediaries. So they're not listed as sort of like they're saying they're not really providing the content. So they can avail of this EU safe harbour law where they pay a reduced amount.
Right.
So they wouldn't pay the same as the Spotifys or the Tidals or the official streaming networks.
So say Spotify, Deezer, Netflix are, you know, like IMRO want to encourage that route because at least people are subscribing and they are paying out something. Now the payments from Spotify are very low, but they maintain that they've got, on the one hand, they've got YouTube, who are doing more a similar thing and paying practically nothing. So I just used one example. I mean, this isn't about...
Yeah, break it down for viewers because I'm sure they'd be surprised by this.
Paper there now. But I just used Brewing Up a Storm because people know it. I just wanted to use that as an example. So I took my MCPS statement from December 2016 and that song got streamed in that month 862 times on YouTube.
Which earned you the grand total of?
Yeah, for which earned me, after there's the 10% administration fee taken off it, I got €1.70, which works out at 0.002 cents per stream. You know, so it's.
But you can see why you're getting involved in a body that needs to be set up to represent musicians and their interests.
So it does. It needs to be set up like the film board or whatever that. But to actually go to Europe and to lobby that there should be fair playing fields.
So you're looking for some level of negotiation here for all of the Irish music acts.
Yeah, it's for all the Irish. It's not. I'm not giving out because I mean, you know, we have a successful song there. It's always, and I've only used that song as an example.
I think IMRO also want to set up a body that's a little bit like the Irish Film Board that represents the music business
industry,
the music industry,
and has your best interests at heart.
Exactly, yeah. And I think people often forget that there's a lot more people employed than just the musicians.
Yes,
like
there is, of course.
The Irish bands and Irish like traditional acts and the musicians across the board employ a lot of people, a lot of Irish people.
It even goes down to the venues. I mean, you know, if an act is having some success, it puts bums on seats in Dolan's Warehouse on a Wednesday night, you know.
Very quickly, Steve, because we're okay over time. Acting.
Yeah.
In terms of, speaking of films and the film board, you played a very well-known character this year, Chet Baker.
That's
in
right,
a movie,
yeah.
which is out next year. Tell us a little bit about that.
Coming out next year. I shot it actually this time last year. I was in Amsterdam for 2 months, and it's a Dutch film because Chet Baker died in Amsterdam in 1988. He fell or jumped, nobody's quite sure, out of a hotel room window. He was a chronic junkie since his mid-20s. And he based himself in Amsterdam because he was actually kicked out of a load of different countries, but he based himself there.
But you beat off some serious competition to get that role.
I was up against, they didn't tell me exactly who, but Willem Dafoe was in the running at one point, and then I heard his name wasn't attached to it anymore, so I don't know. So they were casting in America and they were casting in the UK and everything. So I ended up getting it. I was actually really surprised. So it comes out next year.
Brilliant, very exciting.
He's taking a lot of trumpet solos now. 12-minute trumpet solos.
So there's some details on your social media website. You've got gigs coming up in the new year and the new album's out in March.
Yeah. New album comes out March 16th.
And we're doing the Olympia the same night.
The Opera House around the same time.
The Opera House the following night, March 17th, Paddy's Day.
Lads, thanks for coming in. Appreciate it.
Best of luck, lads. Thank you very much.